My name is Justin Scanlan. I have the privilege of being Deloitte's Healthcare Life Sciences Human Services Leader. I've lived in Australia for 18 years, originally Irish, and moved to Western Australia. And moved there for 2 years. Then decided to stay an extra year, and 18 years later, we're still there. So, that's me, really.
Yeah, and we're excellent. So, Deloitte, obviously a well-known name across many industries and healthcare too. But for those that don't know what Deloitte does, particularly in healthcare in Australia, tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I had the pleasure of joining the firm about 3 years ago. So Deloitte's global purpose is to make an impact that matters in the world. And we translate that in healthcare to make an impact that matters in our healthcare system. And, translating that, effectively, we're doing two things. We're combining our skills with our partners to help redesign a future-fit, sustainable system, number one. And number two, we're digitizing that. So we've got teams that do advise, implement, operate all the way through the digital stack, working with our alliance partners and our clients. Amazing. So put simply, that's what we do.
Yeah, I love it. And in terms of, I always find this fascinating too, when you're trying to address some of these big challenges or issues, or like perhaps there's quite a breadth in terms of the challenges to be faced. Sometimes it's difficult to quantify, or for someone that might be listening that's within a healthcare setting, or perhaps they're creating a digital health solution, or they're like, where do these problems that you're solving kind of fit into the day-to-day of healthcare?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because there's so many. Well, firstly, I would say that we have one of the best systems in the world, and it's a system we should be extremely proud of. In fact, we spend more per capita than our OECD compatriots, right? But we're not getting all of the right healthcare outcomes from that spend. So, we look at it in terms of some of the drivers around, obviously, significant demographic shifts, equity of access, the rise of the consumer, and the demands we all place on getting good quality healthcare that maybe was different, and what our kids will expect. Some of the climate challenges, and the intersection of climate and healthcare is big. And then obviously some of the system performance issues. So what we tend to do is we've boiled down kind of what we think the key issues are in the sector down to 6. So our perspective is probably number one, every time you speak to an executive or a DepSec or a secretary, it's about workforce.
Yep.
It's about empowering the workforce. It's about getting the right workforce in the right place and making sure they're safe and secure. Number two, it's about performance. It's about the system performance. Governments are getting measured on the performance of our health system right now. So we have a system that probably isn't performing as well as it used to in its current format. Financial sustainability is becoming a challenge for us. We have to look at it. And then we look at the ESG and that broad church of sustainability, equity of access. We still have inequity in the system. And then finally, obviously, we're looking at climate and the intersection of climate, which is really fascinating when you look at the fact that our sector is the biggest carbon emitter outside of the airline industry.
So healthcare is the biggest carbon emitter outside of aviation. Interesting. How?
I know, it's great. It's hard to get your head around it because of the footprint of the infrastructure and everything that goes around the sector.
Yeah.
So that's one part of the climate story. And of course, the other part of the climate story is the actual effects of climate change on people's mental health, on biodiversity, on drug development. So it's quite a multifaceted issue when you unpack it. Yeah.
And so you've got, many of these, I guess, challenges or headwinds or I guess factors at play and problems that need to be solved. Some cool emerging technologies that are arising, and people are putting a lot of hope in AI and telehealth and virtual care and VR and things. Where are you finding any kind of connect in the middle in terms of, there's this great role for digital or technologies to address some of these issues?
Yeah, thanks. And I should say that, of course, we have all of the key capabilities you'd expect a big global professional services firm to have, Peter, in terms of our advisory, implementation and operate. But, what we see is, I guess an opportunity to combine capabilities to deliver different results. So if you take the clinical, the business logic and the human factor and blend those together is what we try to do to get a great outcome on an issue. And I'll give you an example. So, obviously we're here, a lot of people are talking about generative AI, big data and AI, large language models and the potential. And there's no doubt about it, Peter, that that technology in particular, out of any in the last 30 years, is going to have a big impact on how we move forward. But, I'll give you a good example where it can be applied ethically and safely. And, it might surprise your listeners to know that, almost 68% of aged care residents in this country are suffering from some level of malnutrition, right? 68.
Wow.
And they're not getting the right food. So working with Compass Group, we developed a platform called Meal Vision, which for all intents and purposes is a meal planning and scanning platform. So if you can imagine, before the breakfast or the lunch or the dinner goes out, it's scanned.
Yep.
It's consumed. It's scanned again as the plate goes back in. So what we can detect from that is nutritional information, patterns, which could be lead indicators on an issue, and making sure we're optimizing food and minimizing waste, but optimizing nutrition. Really simple set of algorithms that applied can make a significant impact for those residents and aging population, So I think it's about picking the problem and understanding what's the problem we're trying to solve, put the human at the center, then work backwards.
Yeah. No, it's a good approach. You were here at HIC, and I see on the dance card that Deloitte's got a few things happening up on stages. Tell me a little bit about some of the sessions that you're participating in over the coming days.
Yeah, we had an awesome breakfast this morning, and I have to say, massive call out to all those who attended the breakfast on the Monday morning, Pete. Yeah. You know what I mean? A lot of people have travelled. Yeah. We did great attendance, and we actually had a really interactive session using Menti survey to get people's perspective around the application of AI technologies in health. And, some of the things that came out of this morning I thought was quite fascinating. So the hot off the press insight, 65% of that group of 40 executives believe that we are ready to go. However, we need better ethical controls, a little bit more understanding, training and awareness, and multidisciplinary teams to start to harness AI technologies. And we need to look at the lower hanging fruit around where we can apply those, around enhancing existing processes and capabilities, so we can build some confidence. Because, there's no doubt about it that, that technology, from a leading edge perspective, has the potential to automate diagnostics and treatment plans, but we are not there. So thinking about it differently, what came out of this morning was really going back to some low-hanging fruit, scheduling, rostering, administration processes, things that we can apply to tech too, get some confidence before we start transforming the capabilities today. So that was a fascinating session this morning, Peter.
Yep.
And then we had a session about 2:00 where we, along with one of our alliance partners, Amazon Web Services, presented a live demonstration of technology on stage.
It's always hair-raising doing a live demo up in front of a lot of people. But,
a couple of things you don't bring on stage. Children, animals, or technology, literally. But no, a bit of a cheat on that one. We did actually do a pre-record, but it went really well.
Tell people that now. That's
the people in the room saw it, so it was a bit of a giveaway.
Okay,
but it was a bit of a blend of virtual and technological. But anyway, cutting a long story, the use case we demonstrated is a remarkable platform called Grace, which was launched late last year by a startup in Manhattan called Hopper. They built this large language model around medical imaging and diagnostics on Amazon's Bedrock, over 1 petabyte of data and historical data anonymized into that platform, and developers have the opportunity to log into that platform. What's fascinating is the ability to interpret any major diagnostic, whether that's an echocardiogram, a CT scan or whatever, and compare it against that history of results. But what I really liked about the virtual assistant we demonstrated today was the human interactivity and the fact that you can program or ask that AI to speak to you like you're a 10-year-old, to speak to you in multiple different languages, to speak to you like you're the carer or the patient, or speak to you like you're the medical practitioner. So, just another example of some of the tech out there solving real problems.
Yeah, amazing. And so, are there any other sessions that things that we...
So for Deloitte, we're here to listen for the rest of the week. We're here to listen, participate. We've got a big team here. But a lot of our alliance partners are here. So one of the things we don't profess to do is solve all the problems ourselves.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so then looking at the future then, and so with the ecosystem, that landscape that we've painted, and the challenges that people want to be solved, and these great opportunities to do so. Where are you seeing that? How are you looking at the crystal ball over the next 6, 12, 24 about how the landscape evolves, and where I guess Australia might fit in that global landscape too, and how we might need to adapt to make the most of it?
Yeah, no, look, I think it's a really good point. I mean, just going back to some of the statistics, we compared to our OECD compatriots, we're just not getting the quality of care results. So I think we need to have a look at our equity of access, some of the integrated care models that can be enabled digitally quite easily, and a few other areas. But one of the things I think we need to look at is we need to replace our large systems of record and systems innovation in our large private providers and public providers. No doubt about that. And obviously we're seeing the next generation of electronic medical record programs being rolled out, which is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But I think my hypothesis is that we actually need to look at sort of more microservices based transformation, stuff that we can actually just do quickly, safely, securely, and demonstrate results. Whether that's just automating a process on a low-code, no-code platform, getting it done, innovating with startups, with the clinicians, and, driving that sort of, if you like, digital innovation ecosystem, Peter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the big monolithic program. It can be a really simple, small, executable program. And one of the things I think we have an opportunity to do is introduce, almost go back to those, lean, Shingo principles around optimizing process and redesigning work in its true sense, because the digital will enable that. So combining those two together, I think we've got a great opportunity.